way forward to the future. But keeping in tune to the biological requirement of ours, I think so we would like to be sort of, making it more concise and more precise. More than more precise, I would say more fruitful and more interactive, I would say this to say. So I have with me a very distinguished panel members who are there. On my right is Mr. Praveen. Praveen, he leads the initiative of defense and aerospace in Telangana. I think so. All kudos to the government of Telangana that it's the only state government who has a director level post available with the designation of defense and aerospace, which is a very, very enabling kind of environment. On to the left is Mr. Rama Krishna. He's an eminent scientist with the DRDO. I think so DRDO, all of you know very well, is a repository of development of various systems and systems related technology which are concerned. And I have a very good dear friend of ours, not that Praveen is not, but Gaurav from Tata Group, who essentially is leading an initiative for the Center of Excellence for Aero Engines. Now, all of them are experts in their field, and I think so. Speaking on the technological, emerging technologies, we would rather like to share what exactly has been experienced as to how do we see this adaptation of technology to be converted into business, which is actually the real requirement we want to understand. I do understand that the enabling environment comes from the state and central government. An enabling environment and the support comes from the DRDO. But the experience happens on the ground. That's what Gaurav and all of us will cover up. So just turning the tables in a very different way, rather than we trying to tell what exactly we are doing, and I'm asking my panel members, I expect panel members to tell about their experience, their thought process. I would like to now straight away ask a question to the audience. What do you really like to understand from this expert panels who are here? So I know Praveen is going to sort of say, hey, that's a googly which is not going to be sort of prepared, but pardon me. So what I would say, I'll just throw open to the house. If you have first 3 questions that you really look at to understand from this panel, so that we don't miss out and to say, hey, we don't have time and we are rushing for lunch. I think so you have enough and more critical questions which is of interest to you to work it out. And of course, time permit, we will be able to share our thought process on the emerging technologies and the way forward, how the future is going to look like. Would that be okay, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, so all yours, I'd like to just throw open.
Yeah, what is the emerging future technology?
Okay, I think so we noted the point, so we will be talking about it in a very specific way. What are the emerging technologies in defense which are applicable or being adopted? We are not talking about McKinsey reports and other things, no. We are going to talk something which are hard facts which will be applicable on the ground. Fair enough?
Sir, I just wanted to ask that, see, this artificial intelligence which has been going on in the last 1 year, so how it could be helpful, like, when you come to aerospace or something like that, how artificial intelligence would be used, like, it is not a threat to our mankind. So I just wanted to get an idea of that, how artificial intelligence would be used.
Sure, I think so we noted the point.
Thank you.
I will request my fellow panelists to please keep in mind, and when we are answering or when bringing the points to bring out this particular concerns.
Yeah, Telangana is known for very innovative state. I just wanted to ask, what is that Telangana is going to do differently than any other state in India in terms of the support and innovative technologies concerned?
Don't worry, we have an expert sitting here.
Yeah, this is Diwakar with Avishka. Very insightful information and sessions. There was a slide made by Dr. Chandrika that there are new initiatives from defense and there are projects taken by the private players, and all the listed companies there are the large corporates like Adani, L&T. Not a single startup or a new company was available. So how do you supporting this startup where we need to foster the innovation and support startups, because these developments what we are doing is not only for Indian defense, it is going to be for the global support.
So what are the measures you have taken? I want to understand.
Sure. So this is more of an enabling environment that we are trying to talk about from the core technological development, which will be the bedrock for developing an effective weapon system. Okay, I think so. I will just stop here. Sorry, one last question.
One more question, sir. Very good afternoon. I just wanted to check what are the inventions from DRDL or DRDO to protect defense, I mean, to contribute for food security for defense teams working. So, what are the innovations in providing food security?
Okay.
Because they work in adverse conditions, so to enhance shelf life for the food products which we supply for our defense.
We will try, because this is a very different expertise, and this laboratory is not located in Hyderabad. I don't know, would you like to speak? So maybe it's not within our scope to talk something where we will not be able to command them. So sorry, I'll not be able to take the question, but please, you're welcome. During the lunchtime, I'll be able to sort of link you with the right people. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I think that sets the tone for the panel session here. What I'm going to suggest is that, just to give you a background, today, one of the core factors which has been sort of impacting our combat preparedness, because combat preparedness, for when we talk about space and defense, they are verticals of their own kind, of national stature, strategic importance, which has got very, very important impacts on our various philosophies as to how we're going to emerge as a nation as such. When we are doing that, so one of the prime factors that we need to learn, or we need to really understand, how the word has gone around. And I would just like to, as just to set the tone, that we definitely have seen a very, transition where India, being a very Russian dependent, technological oriented or weapon system oriented country, because of its own geopolitical requirements, now migrating towards an US based alignment which is happening around. But the fact remains is that the right solution from the emerging technologies which will be the real future for the country like us? Do we have to really emulate a Russian model or an American model to work out? Or I will also throw it open that, do we have to look at a Chinese way, where essentially today America is trying to do a catch-up story to make sure that the areas in which they thought they had a technological advantage, today I think Americans are going around to make sure that they take up a catch-up story with the Chinese as such. So I think that this is the kind of enabling environment which will come. Of course, it is a 30,000 feet kind of a question. The people are at the strategic level, the strategic think tank level, are really taking all the initiatives to make sure that we are not absolutely copycat or doing the catching up story, but we are catapulting or leveraging the current technologies which are available to us, which can be developed for a more effective weapon system. Because at the end of the day, what is the aim? Aim is, yes, there are core technologies which needs to be sort of controlled and mastered, but it's not necessarily that we need to always have. Like we look at example of space, a fantastic example. Today, it has become a success story, not because we had a very innovative, space technologies being sort of mastered as. We mastered the art of capitalizing into a good business solution as such. So I think that this is where the whole difference lies, rather than we trying to sort of develop all the technologies as such. In India, where the masses are, where we sort of take pride of our intelligence as a major input, I think so let's leverage the existing technologies as a part of friends to come out with the system which goes around. So with this background, I'm sort of setting the tone, and I would just like to throw open a question to Mr. Ram. That how do you see, like, what are the two major critical technologies that you are bringing, which you think are bringing, which DRDO is bringing to the industry, where the current industry will get benefited?
Hi, good afternoon to all of you. We are fortunate and unfortunate to be tagged as DRDO lab. I'm from ARCI. We are under DST lab. So what we do is a pure translational research. We understand the needs of and the challenges of the industry and the DRDO or any strategic sector for that matter, and then how to bring the basic understanding of engineering and science into a translatable technology and then make it available to the industry. We do only a demonstration and prototype establishment, and then the industry comes forward and gets into the production mode. So in this setup, what I find is there are ample of challenges faced by the industry itself. For example, if I am an aluminum producer in industry, I have my own carbon emission issues, my anode dissolution rate, which is much higher than the globally permitted levels. If I am a DRDO unit, I want zero expansion glass ceramics, which is not available in the country. If I am an ISRO, I want a space mirror, which is much more cost effective. And if I am, say, the food processing industry, I want something, a wrap which can permit some of the ions, but not all, so that it can be stored even under or non-refrigerative conditions, and so on and so forth. So what I'm trying to say is, in all these cases, what I mentioned, most of the problem statements are related to the materials. So how to understand the material and how to put it in use is what we have been dealing with from the past 25 years, as far as myself is concerned. I'm heading the surface engineering and also the chairman of aerospace working group. Now coming back to the aerospace things, to answer your question precisely, to me what fascinates is the aero engine. I'm happy that my fellow speaker is an expert in that too. And there are ample of challenges and opportunities, like what you have mentioned, whether the Russian engine or Western engine, doesn't matter. We have to have our own engines made within the country. That's the first target. And if we look at the business volume size, it is wise if we can make the Western engines rather than the Russian engines to begin with, because the Western engine superalloys are the most advanced superalloys than the Russian engine superalloys. So there are lots of challenges and opportunities within the engine itself. That, for example, we say yttrium stabilized zirconia is a universal solution of a thermal barrier, but it has to play a different role. It should have a different microstructure, it should have different functionality, it should have different operating temperatures, it should have different properties like erosion and high temperature oxidation properties from one place to the other place of the engine. So there are ample of opportunities within the engine itself with regard to materials. And for example, if we want to make an actively cooled superalloy engine blade material using advanced latest generation superalloy material, something like CMS X4, nobody knows how to make it. So we need such technology. So what I request the industry is, they can look forward to the global partners and how to bring the technology to the industry. Just name, your experience and knowledge is much more than me. So pardon me if I'm wrong. And probably and during my past 2.5 years, 2.5 decades of experience, what I realized is, when the industry comes to us saying that this is my problem statement, can you address? It is being addressed at much faster pace rather than we sitting at a cubicle and then trying to mature a technology. We have all sorts of examples, but when the industry came for example, about a year back, nuclear industry, one of the supplier to the nuclear industry said, I'm not able to supply the pump shaft, which is about 2 meters long and about 300 mm diameter. It needs to be coated. We don't have any specifications. We don't have any acceptance criteria. if we ask our principals, they are saying Germany knows how to do that, and we are completely blank. How help us? Within just 6 months, we completed the whole exercise, and now it's in production. So what I'm trying to say is life cycle, any product development life cycle or technology development life cycle can be considerably shortened if the industry comes forward. With this remark, I would like to pass it on to the next question, please.
So, in terms of technology, you meant to say from the metallurgical point of view, there are enough and more challenges which industry can sort of take on and will be able to support. And I really appreciate. Gaurav, coming to your end, I think so. Since the ARCI has rightly said that there are enough technological challenges, but I think so. Your group, Tata Group, has been on the leading front on the aerospace area, and especially in aerospace engine area. What has been your journey and experience about technological threshold, and where do you want to go from here so that we really sort of call ourselves self-reliant in terms of aero engines as such?
Thank you for that, Rudra, and thank you to the audience for having me here. Firstly, so I think the audience, is perhaps more aware of this than I. But when I entered aerospace just about a decade ago, and that's when Rudra and I first met, it was always a question asked. When we would interact with anyone from the foreign OEM or people, the question would be, can you do it, right? And today, with what we've been able to do in the aero engine space, I think that the narrative has changed to, oh, you do this, that means can we make it happen? I think that has been a switch, and that has been on account of the aero engine work which has happened. If you say, perhaps in aerospace, the aero engine contributes close to 30 to 40% value of that flying article, and while there are a lot of, I would say more, the ability to develop airframes is much more wider, but you would notice that the aero engine technology has sort of distilled and has remained with only 3 or 4 players in the world of significance. And that is telling you how complex that technology is. I would say that, Rudra, we talked about this yesterday also, that there is innovation. We should look at innovation in 2 aspects, and that is what will allow us as individuals sitting on this side and that side to understand how we are going to engage with it. So one is what is the product innovation. So you would have seen of certain technologies which are called like the drone technology. The drone technology is a product where if you have a drone which can do a certain thing, then it is a product which you are able to place to the market. The drone is a unique system because it is small enough. I mean, most drones are small enough that a small organization can actually take on that onus of doing it. Now, when you move into an environment like aero engines, these are very complex systems, very large engineering systems which are put together. When I was new to this industry, I would look at an aero engine as a product. Today, I think an aero engine is a system of systems. It is not necessarily one product. So, what that means is it is a complex system to develop. So, sometimes a small company may not be able to innovate across the entire product. But then you have what is called as process innovation, and that is something which I think is something which all of us can adapt in our sphere of work. So, I mean, if you look at what we do a lot of machining, we do a lot of coatings, we do a lot of special processes. What we are trying to do is innovate in our process, because you are today competing. We are not making a different product to what others are not making in the world, but we need to make that more efficiently, more reliably, at a lower cost, at a higher throughput. And for that, we have to do a lot of innovation within ourselves. And that is what is called as process innovation. So you need to look at innovation on 2 fronts. My experience, Rudra, has been that, aviation is innovative in itself in the product, but is very conservative when it comes to the process. So when you if you enter the civil aviation side of it, or even I would say military aviation side of it, because of the safety, the reliability involved, there's a lot of stringency on the process. So you may not be able to innovate too much on the product, but you need to innovate on the process side of it so that you are able to meet those cost and productivity targets. And that is a huge area. And for that, today for us, I think lean, it's not an innovation, but it is a process innovation and digital. That's a huge space which we continually work with, and that allows us to improve our process. So that is something which I think we can reflect upon. So that is the product innovation and the process innovation. So if you are, if you are sitting on that side and you're trying to think, okay, I have this company, what can I do, and how can I increase my business and increase my space? You need to figure out which side you want to play in. So if you believe that you've got a real, mastery on a certain process, and you want to see where that process can go, then you can look at your applicability in various products. And I would say that today the rate of change in defense is much higher than the rate of change in, say, civil aviation. And I would see that, just the amount of, they were talking about more than 1,000 startups innovating in the drone space. It's so liberating, and it's so wonderful to see that happening. And I think it's a wonderful space for young companies to enter and start work on, because the system which you're dealing with is smaller. It is something which a small team can comprehend, which is where if you're trying to you will have to solve a very small problem in a large system of systems with a lot more dependencies. If you're trying to engage in, say, like trying to solve for an airframe problem, which is like, okay, how do I make a better wing? But you need a plane for that wing to go on, and somebody else is making that plane. So you need to then relate to that person, work with that organization. So it makes it complicated. Whereas a drone is something which you can put together, make that system, and then and take it forward. So that's the thing you will have to see when you're trying to try to see where you can develop your niche and hone your own organizational I would say skill, and trying to make that better. Another thing I'll say, and I'm so happy to sit next to Rama Krishna sir today. We talked and we saw a lot of products, but what you don't see when you see those products are some of the special processes, and the work which is happening at ARCI. I think it's very innovative in terms of what they are doing, and coatings, very particularly, is a huge part of what makes an aero engine fly. Right, coatings, to explain to you what is happening is that you are handling temperatures in excess of the melting point of the metal. And how are you doing that? You're doing that by putting in thermal barrier coatings, and coatings which give special properties to the structure which you are going to do. So coatings is a huge area, and then coatings can potentially help you change the game in your area. So what sir was referring to was essentially putting a coating on a component which can really transform the life of that coating, of that component. And these are things which you can use to innovate in your area and try to offer a better solution to any system which you are producing. So this is the way one has to really look at it. As an organization, depending on the size and the scale of our organization, we can engage with the environment and try to see how can I innovate in that space.
Thanks. So I think what I gathered from what Gaurav and Ramakrishna Garu has said is that the process is also a technology by itself. We tend to sort of downplay the whole process, that no, it's a manufacturing technology. No. Please understand the criticality that it may sound to be a catching up story, but these processes are really required to be adopted because people have learned the harder way, and we need to really do the innovative process, as what Gaurav was trying to say, that how can we make it more further better. Now, one of the areas which I can just can cross mind, nanotechnology. Today a coating with nanotechnology is absolutely a raw field which will help us to enhance the life of, say, you just take a turbine blade. I'm just trying to be very, very colloquial on that particular aspect. That if the blade, which essentially has a profile which is very, very critical, but besides the profile, to increase the life of the profile by say 30-40%, if you just adopt a nanotechnology particle coating, I'm sure I may be making the right statement that you will enhance the life of it. So I think this is another areas of technology or emerging area of technology, which I think we as an ecosystem can start working out with academia, or having an expert opinion. Other day, just now I found that gentleman was mentioning about the ferris. Now, it looks like a very rudimentary kind of a thinking that, okay, how do I sort of analyze the life and its wear and tear and everything. But I'm sure it's so critical. It's a very important technology. So not coming to the bigger spectrums of life to talk about hypersonic missile systems where maybe no aero engines may be required, because today we are not into that field as such. But that's another area that we can think, that will we make the aero engines redundant? But this is because today the whole ecosystem where the defense or the user are looking at, how do I beat my missiles that it cannot be beaten? So hypersonic is the solution as such. Now, what is it that is going around and how we can contribute? I just leave it as an open idea. Now, coming back to the whole process, I think one of the key questions was, how would an enabling environment be provided to these emerging technologies? And obviously, there was a specific question that what would Telangana government do? So I'm putting Praveen on the spot, but I would request him to sort of share his views on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Jadeja. So I've been leading this aerospace and defense sector for the state government for the last 7 years. So when I started off, what essentially emerged was this is a sector which is centrally driven. So all policies are central government policies. What can the state government do? And then we had a lot of meetings with the DRDO labs, with the MSMEs who are engaged into it. And the question came in again saying that the orders that you used to get are very erratic and we don't have. So this industry has got its own woes. In fact, Mr. Vishnuvardhan in the morning said that in all our industrial promotions, we normally say that the larger OEMs are coming in and establishing here. Enough focus is not given on the innovation which is happening from the MSMEs, from the local industries, etc. But that's only because our target segment is to get more of foreign investments coming into Telangana. While when we pitch the ecosystem, we essentially talk about the larger institutions which are present here, including the ARCI, the DRDO labs, and the larger OEM manufacturing. In fact, Kalyani's have got a missile manufacturing facilities here. Mr. Jadeja is to head that. He's heading that rather. Adani's have got their UAV facility here. Tata's have got multiple joint venture facilities. In fact, Tata's have got more than 90% of the manufacturing out of Hyderabad. But when you look at it, most of the work which is getting done are probably components, subcomponents to that extent of, except for the direct supplies to DRDO, most of the manufacturing in defense and aerospace is happening is for a larger global program, wherein some part of the work is given here, not everything comes out here. And there is very little scope for innovation, there's very little scope for improvisation, because as Gaurav has clearly mentioned, there's a lot of security, safety related constraints which is there at a platform level, wherein as a vendor or a sub-vendor, you're constrained to follow whatever is the kind of agreed processes or agreed materials, etc. So if you were to really look at it, India needs to have its own OEMs in each of these segments. OEMs in the sense, the moment you kind of determine, when you are the principal OEM, you can determine what sort of materials, what sort of process, what sort of certifications, what sort of qualification which will be required. And that would enable more and more local participants to come in, because there is a scope for improvisations there. Otherwise, to the extent that is possible, it will still kind of be, probably Tatas may find the same thing, that they may be kind of really getting an order from Korea to shift it to Hyderabad, and tomorrow it may go out to some other country if they're to outbid, the existing tier 1s or tier 2s. So that said, what the state government is doing is essentially, we create a lot of dedicated aerospace parks. We're one of the first states to kind of create a dedicated aerospace CSIP. And we have today multiple aerospace parks, multiple electronics parks. We are the first state to set up a composite manufacturing park. In fact, that's been highlighted time and again, that the innovations in materials, innovations in the composite space is something which we really need to kind of master. And the state identified as an opportunity and created a composite park where I think 60 or Mr. Narayan Murthy is here representing the TACMA, which is a composite manufacturing association. So we gave an industry this place where they could actually set up and congregate, and then even look at the common facilities, the testing centers, etc. which are there. Similarly, we are a state with the largest extent of electronic manufacturing. In fact, the largest E-City or the electronic manufacturing cluster is in Hyderabad, where a lot of avionics and defense electronics companies have taken space. In fact, Vishnu also mentioned that we are now setting up, or rather in the process of setting up a additional defense manufacturing park and aerospace park. So that is on the infra part of it. What else? This topic is all about disruptive technologies, and what are the disruptive technologies and what are the implications to the aerospace and defense sector? We talk about AI, ML, we talk about drones, we talk about space, we talk about 3D printing, we also spoke about MROs. So Telangana was one of the first states to identify these as an opportunity, and we created sector-specific and segment-specific policies for that. We're the first state to come up with a drone policy. We're the first state to have the Beyond Visual Line of Sight flight, which the Honorable Civil Aviation Minister came down to Hyderabad to really do the first launch. We're the first one to kind of also have a space policy. We do have the National Center for 3D Printing in Hyderabad. And in fact, for me, the first experience of 3D printing was with Mr. Rama Krishna when he actually showed the metal 3D printing facility in ARCI, where the applications which he also showed, a lot of wear and tear on the flywheels, etc., can be repaired and still come to use. And that's something which was quite unique, because at that point in time, I felt again that this is an emerging technology. I never saw that this technology could mature in such a short time. And today, if you look at it, in fact, I had a chance to visit various facilities in France and US, and I could see that extensive use of 3D printing is there, extensive use of robotics is there, extensive use of AI, ML enabled digital manufacturing technologies are there, which is what is going to be the next phase of growth. In fact, we're trying to do a lot of catching up story here. I think it's high time we really see what is happening elsewhere and start off on that note. Because today, most of the work, today we say that 80% of the aerospace activity, what we have here is export oriented. But the kind of work which we get here are the kind of work which the developed countries don't want to do, and they're offloading it up to us. But tomorrow, once their robotization extent will kind of improve to such an extent that even those work content which is coming to India needn't come to India, it can still remain there. So we need to really look at being masters in those tech. In fact, if you look at it, Airbus, Boeing, Safran, all of them have the largest engineering divisions in Bangalore and Hyderabad, etc. Why? Because we've got immensely talented tech talent who are actually creating the next generation technology for these larger firms. So we have the right talent here, the right ecosystem here, the right industry participant to support here. I think we should kind of make use of it. And indigenization, the Make in India opportunity which is currently available, where a lot of these imported items are now restricted for Indian manufacturers, it's a great opportunity for all of you to really look at. The government may not be able to fund everything, the industry need to come forward, but this is an open opportunity, it's a massive opportunity, and particularly so the development in the space is going to be the next level opportunity, which the entire aerospace, defense and space segment, I think the space segment is going to be the future, because the way wars are fought today may not be the way how wars are fought later. So space, cyber, AI, ML, in fact AI, ML, what they say in the DARPA website, they say they have spent billions of dollars into creating these technologies. And today what they're looking at, how technology as a tool can be a technology as a partner. And if that is the kind of intent which the US is looking, I think that's the same objective which you also need to look forward to. And through all these sector-space policies, all the sector-specific infrastructure, the Aerospace University Initiative, etc., the state is trying its level best. I think we are doing the best amongst all states. And we have been also awarded the best state in aerospace by Ministry of Civil Aviation 6 years in a row. 2018, it's a biannual award which we get, 2018, 2020, 2022. We were awarded the best state in aerospace. I think you all are part of that success story. And I think we have miles to go ahead in the same mode. Thank you.
So I thought Praveen will announce some, incentives and benefits coming out for the industry. But the very fact, on a positive note, what Praveen is trying to say, that they have already benchmarked themselves, that they are proactive, and they have been sort of understand the minds and requirement of the industry, and created those dedicated, environment, supporting environment. Though defense and space being a central subject, But I think so the Telangana government needs a pat on the back that they're not shied off to sort of support. And the very fact that two of the major, startup companies who have actually flourished in the space sector emerged from the very fact of Telangana. So it speaks volumes of it, and we hope that the government of Telangana is going to keep supporting the MSMEs of in defense and space as such. And one of the carry-on points which I am sure the chairman sir was rightly saying, Subbarao Garu, that the incentive so announced needs to be sort of translated on ground so that people really plan their cash flows accordingly rather than just, it become an incentive. So this is a point I'm just barking on behalf of everybody because somebody told me. Now coming back to the core area that we are trying to talk about, one of the gentlemen expressed his concern that would AI be the end of human beings. I think so that's too far-fetched thought process. Technologies are developed by human beings. They are developed for human beings. I think so we will never ever find ourselves to be outdone. So, and please understand, nature has also shown that its own ways of controlling the feedback. So your COVID-19 was more sustainable warning to all of us that don't think too much, take care of yourself also and your environment. Now that opens up a very important thing, that do we as a defense and aerospace and space sector be really worried or bothered about sustainability as a requirement? And that's what I would like to sort of, request my panel member. I'm sorry this is off the cuff thing, but I'll request Gaurav that how do we sort of, as a defense and aerospace, as Praveen was rightly saying, that we tend to be an offloading point for those toxic, not so friendly, environmental friendly processes and manufacturing, cost arbitrage being driven as a major motivation to come here, beyond to really doing a niche application as such, which is meeting the world standard as such. So Gaurav would like to say a few words on that.
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, many questions in one, but yeah, sustainability is definitely something which should be on top of our minds. I mean, we are seeing it that it is also something which the OEMs are increasingly being forced to ask and or are asking out of their own volition. But that's something which we should also look at. I think just even you would be surprised that localization is also being viewed as a positive towards sustainability, because if you are not moving your raw material as much, your hence from a carbon footprint, your production is better. So localization is a big is actually a big step in the whole carbon. In the whole sustainability, and that's also a reason which is going to actually cause more OEMs to look at India from an aerospace perspective, because this is where the market is moving. I mean, today in aerospace, essentially it's India and China which is really fueling the growth, and all OEMs are sitting up and taking notice of that and are going to be increasingly looking at India, because that is the more green thing to do, and also obviously the government is going to be forcing them to look at us. What you said, Rudra, is something we should be very wary of. I mean, there are old processes which are there where some of the developed countries are looking at offloading those as a responsible business house and as responsible businessmen. We should be wary of that. We should be very cognizant of the environmental impact of our processes and not and also understand that those are not long-term sustainable, because the world is going to look away from them. So it is actually smart to not invest in those technologies which are polluting. So and there are standards like the REACH standard, which is coming across in aerospace, which is actually moving away from it. It's smart to avoid it, I would say, and it would be something which a smart businessman would look to jumping ahead of the curve in terms of sustainability. India has a lot of differences vis-a-vis the West. Like your packing material is I would say timber is not as accessible and cheap as it is abroad. So it is also an opportunity for innovation. Every challenge becomes an opportunity of innovation. For a fact, I know that that there's a lot of very I would say very innovative packaging solutions which have been developed in India, we have looked at them and we are using them in our supply chain. I would also urge you to look at it as an area of innovation which you can lead your organization into as well. So very clearly, those are trends which we see and which I think are an opportunity for everyone to participate in.
So the reason I just came out with this particular thing, because usually you will feel that environmental issues are just restricted to the big houses who are supposed to be doing it, or sustainability is required as their part of responsibility. But I think so. If we have an aspiration of capitalizing on emerging technologies as such, which will be future, and we also want to have a business aspiration that we want to be exporting this particular thing. I think that this small benchmark will be the threshold which needs to be cleared. And today, if that needs to be cleared, the ecosystem in and around needs to sort of start maturing towards this particular thing. That will help us to cross the barrier faster and easier. So this is just a point I thought all my industry friends are here, that it may not be part of your business plans, but I think so a small thought process will really enable. And I'm sure Government of Telangana also has some initiatives on that.
So basically, as Gaurav was telling, most of the larger OEMs are now insisting on the carbon zero targets which they have, and so any processes which they're kind of offloading here, even the supply chain, they insist on having the green technologies there. And in most of the aerospace and defense, and for that matter, most of the other parks also, we are insisting on creating green parks. Green park doesn't mean that red category industry does not find permit. But red category industry, when they are kind of proposing, when the industry is proposing, the industry need to justify how they are kind of mitigating the waste material. It can be STP, or there should be a mechanism to kind of really showcase that no discharge, wet or otherwise, is kind of going to the ecosystem. So that kind of sensitivity is there. We're also trying to see how we can supply more green energy to the industry. So there are policies which have been deliberated to that effect. As such, we, in the innovation scheme of things, we have facilitated a couple of larger OEMs to do acceleration innovation programs where sustainability and carbon emission control, monitoring, etc. were part of it. We had 2 years back, we had entered into an agreement with Airbus and GMR to see how the emissions can be monitored and kind of be regulated. So these are just instances where the state is also coming in to the bandwagon to support the industry and also to kind of volley for more and more green practices in the manufacturing process. And that's something which, and many times when your proposals get rejected, I chaired the land allocation committee for aerospace, and many times I have to really reject a lot of proposals, citing that it is not suitable for the respective park. That is in the interest of the region as well as the other applicants who are in the same park. So we have designated certain parks meant for the green industry only. And so in the larger interest, I think, I hope that will be appreciated, that we need to be mindful of that. Thank you.
Thanks, sir. So coming back to the core topic that we were trying to work out, I think so flashing out fancy AI, ML, computing and everything, they are going to be in things because the warfare is going to change. And that's another area that we should really not lose sight. So while on one spectrum, we are focused on mastering the technologies from metallurgical aspect, simple things like taking a coating, sorry to use the word simple, but it's very critical, to the areas which are going to be the emerging ones. And emerging ones, and I'm talking of the immersive technologies. Okay, today, how we sort of project ourselves, the scenarios, that also needs to be sort of looked into. And today, we have, and we are, as Praveen was rightly mentioning, that all the global OEMs are having their engineering center here in India, or rather to be more specific in Hyderabad and Bangalore. Now it speaks volumes. I think one of the missing link in the whole process is that we are too focused into smaller port and we are not focusing on the system engineering aspect, which essentially has remained a part of more of a DRDO kind of thing. So I think so the industry needs to mature. When industry needs to mature, the powerhouses, the big houses like Tata's, Mahindras, Kalyanis and other thing, they have now started graduating themselves to system engineering or coming out with the platforms as such. Other panel was discussing about the RF technology or seeker technology. which is still evading us. In fact, we find that our sensors are still far less superior to our adversaries, and that's going to be making a definitive change in how we are going to have an advantage over our adversaries, because that's what the service headquarters or the defense is looking for. That, hey, am I going to get a little ahead of my adversaries as such? So those technologies also needs to be sort of worked on. So I think the opportunities are immense. This topic I can keep carrying on till one more hour as such, naming and putting a lot of technologies on the table as such. But we as a panel did try to work out from one small rudimentary technologies requirement to the high-end requirement and to enabling requirement as such. So I think with this, I would just like to thank my panel members. I will not go to the customary proposition of if anybody has a question to ask, but nevertheless, I think so. I'll not deny you also. So we will have two questions, quick questions, if you would like to have before lunch. Otherwise, we can break for lunch. Oh, I see two. Thank you. Please, Your Honor.
This is to Praveen. See, you said educating Telangana in a very good way everywhere, and we thanks for that. But when it comes to defense and space is concerned, you're always, it's a big boys game. Like when you're creating aerospace park or any park you're talking about, this is as usually when I just went and see, there is not much space for the SMEs maybe, as MSMEs or maybe. So whenever you're creating a park, there should be a designated some kind of a space for the MSMEs alone. If you go to a big park, there's a minimum lot size or maybe the minimum investment of this. This is how it is. I felt there should be in catering for the entire eco space of the pyramid. So that somehow I felt to be missing. I don't know whether I'm wrong. You can correct it.
No, we have reservations in every park which we have. We have a reservation for SCST, we have a reservation for women, we have a reservation for smaller parks. The smaller size, if you look at any of the aerospace parks which we have, there will be 1 acre, 2 acre sort of plot which are meant for MSMEs to take. The larger companies want probably 20 acres, 30 acres sort of demands. That is one. Second is, in fact, recently the Nagargul Aerospace Park, there's a 22 acre identified where 25 small MSMEs have applied. That's actually, before me for approval. Only thing is that we are just weeding out all those non-aerospace, as he said, which non-aerospace companies which has also applied under that. Because defining who is an aerospace MSME or a non-aerospace MSME is also a challenge for us, because everyone claims that I've got 2 CNC machines, I'm an aerospace player, which may not be. Because the line of activity is maybe is into general engineering. So we really need to kind of really do some evaluation to do that. But certainly, yes, there's a lot of encouragement for MSMEs, and if you look at the Nagargul, predominantly MSMEs only.
Even a 1 acre, 2 acres could be a bigger size for the MSMEs. You can think of some kind of an SDF, maybe standard design factories or something, so they can start something so that they can evaluate it. So some kind of an ecosystem is trying to be missing for the smaller players. MSMEs is still, you were talking about an acre will be costing today around 3 to 4 crore rupees. It should be further brought down, and it should be a smaller place, and maybe a 10 MSMEs together can make a cluster. Something like that you should think of, so that things will take off.
It is true. In fact, we have a challenge of creating reducing the price in and around Hyderabad or in and around the outer ring road, because the land cost of anyway gone up. So we are creating new parks, general engineering as well as aerospace park beyond outer ring road, such that the land price can be brought down. Otherwise, the existing rates are what it is, and we need to really find a means to kind of do that. That's the only way we see creating new parks in the outskirts to accommodate the interests of the MSMEs right now.
Right. We had one gentleman there. Last question, please, before we break.
Hello. Hi, this is Kalyana. I'm a founder of a new space tech startup trying to deliver ultra low cost, very high volume payload to low Earth orbit. What I observed is, as has been pointed out, Telangana and even Hyderabad is now emerging as a space tech startup hub. But one of the things I've observed is, although there is a lot of companies are there, startup companies are there, suppliers are there, emerging suppliers are there, a lot of innovation is happening. But I see that space tech oriented incubator is still not available in Hyderabad. There are a few available in other places in India, but where the space tech activity and higher level of innovation is happening, which is in Telangana, there is no incubator. Is there any plan for such an incubator to be floated by the Telangana government?
We have plans. In fact, we were one of the first states to propose a defense incubator with the government of Honorable Government of India. In fact, we didn't get an approval for that. Space as well. We have requested ISRO for because they have done something in Kerala with a small center. What we also need to understand is when an incubator is there, our current existing incubators, T-Hub and T-Works. T-Hub is the largest software incubator. T-Works is the largest hardware incubator. We are trying to accommodate a lot of these startups who are trying to kind of find solutions in this segment to these two incubators. Apart from that, I think Telangana today has got around 70 incubators and accelerators in the others, apart from the government sector. So many of them are running acceleration programs and other programs for supporting that. We do have the support of the DRDO labs, ARC and other labs who can probably facilitate a little bit of test centers, a little bit of infrastructure support in that respect. But when you look at a space incubator, we really need to understand what exactly is an incubator, what all need to be there in that, how many users are going to be there, because there's a heavy investment which is going to come in there. And where is the user group? And the user group need to determine as to what need to come in as equipments or what need to come in as common facilities, etc. So I would invite the industry to, put together a note and then probably propose that. We would be glad to kind of evaluate and then do that. Today we don't see that critical mass coming in. And most of these space-related activities are happening closer to ISRO because the approval need to happen from there. So it is quite natural that these centers get preference to kind of go there. But if there is a sizable industry volume here, we certainly can kind of look into that. Thank you.
I think so. One of our panel members would like to add here, Mr. Rama Krishna.
We have a special policy to offer incubation to the Indian industries, which align with the technologies of the RSA's interest. So where we charge very nominal, like for water, electricity and running costs. But otherwise we take care of the boundary, we take care of the whole security, we have the full ecosystem. And we also, to answer one of the other question and yours, how the startups and the MSMEs wish list is taken care. We also offer GoCo mode. Suppose if you see an equipment which is 1 crore to 10 crores, where you don't know whether it is really needed for you or not. And then what we say is you can come and operate your own system. I mean, we will provide you government owned, company operated. So we train your manpower. You can just, in one of the shift, you can operate. In the other shift, we will take care of our own R&D. So you don't need to pay too much of a price upfront. So, and if it is a startup, we have heavy discounts. And we have a policy that if a startup approaches us, just to screen out some of their things, like I have plan A, B, C, D, I don't know which one will work out, but I do believe that one of these 4 will work out. And suppose if we have 2 systems available with us out of the 4 you need, we will immediately, with a positive intent, we will offer those 2 things and just weed out if these 2 are not the ones you don't want, or if you have one of the best system out of the 4 is available with us. And then you can just sit in our own incubator and try to engage with us and try to take the product out. And then you can graduate and get out and have your own company later on. So there are, but I agree, if Praveen does, it will be known to everyone through the newspaper and media. If we do, it will be known to at least these gatherings. So please approach the academia, like DRDO has set up a huge facility at IT Hyderabad. So please do contact the academia R&D and then have a consortium level of understanding between the consortia, between the academia R&D and industry, where you don't need to really do a lot of funding. We know how to get the funding from the government. In fact, I was the member of several funding committees at the central level, where some of the policies like TDP, Technology Development Program, they used to insist in the past 50% of the contribution from the industry, otherwise we will not fund. Then I fought a lot for a longer time, and then now it has been brought down to 10% so that the smaller players can come inside, and even that 10% can be in kind as well. It doesn't need to be a monetary flow to the project contribution. So there are a lot of background works that are going on in support of the smaller players, so that many people can come up with their innovative ideas and put forward different processes and products for the betterment and enhancement of the ecosystem in the country. Thank you.
Praveen will always come and inaugurate it if you want, and you'll get your presence also then.
No, I mean, I would also like to add that a lot of acceleration and incubation programs are happening, which is promoted by the OEMs themselves. Now, Collins Aerospace, we have got the Boeing Horizon X and Boeing build programs in T-Hub. Pratt & Whitney had an acceleration program there. Airbus is kind of tying up with this. I'm saying that while these large companies come, we are also, I think BDL has kind of had tie-up with T-Hub. And I'm sure that, we have also done a lot of promotion of the TDF program, which DRDO has. And IDEX, in fact, T-Hub is part of it. So from a state, using the state machinery or the state institute, we try to popularize these opportunities. But then it's up to the industry to apply for it. And these are generic, very generic opportunities where you can actually showcase. In fact, Collins' team is coming down. Pratt & Whitney's team is coming down on this 18th to see a startup in Hyderabad, in T-Hub, who has kind of present. It's just a AR/VR sort of a startup. They saw an opportunity there in that contest. They bid for it, and now they're working with the OEM to kind of solve a solution. I mean, like a kind of a problem there. So there are a lot of opportunities. At times, you need to also tag along with one of these established programs or institutions to get the visibility. As Mr. Rama Krishna has clearly said, visibility may not be available for every program, but a lot of institutions are actually open their doors to kind of come in. A lot of support is available, which may not be clearly been visible. I'll also try, sir, to my level best to popularize whatever you're doing, but I think we need to tap on. There are a lot of opportunities for getting engaged in this program. To do that.
I think thank you. Firstly, thank you, Western audience here, for patiently listening. In fact, I was thinking that I may not be given the time and people feel not very involved, but I really, really appreciate your patience to hear us out. My thanks to my sort of expert panelists to take on a very diverse kind of role or discussions, right from basic process-based technology to the AI being influencing the humankind as such and its extinction, to the sustainability aspect, to an incubation. So I think so. I couldn't have thought about capturing the inquisitiveness of the audience. And thank you very much, all of you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rudra. Thank you for sort of sharing this then. Thank you so much.